Hello, hello, hello. I am the Linux Mench. Today, Arch Linux released a brand new ISO, which they normally do on the first of the month. I was expecting them to be late because it's a holiday, but they weren't. Now, of course, the brand new ISOs are to be used for brand new installations and not to be used to update your system. And normally, on the first of the month, I take the ISO and I make a video on doing an install. Now, last month, I did two videos. I did a video on with a manual install with encryption, and then I did a second video installing all my favorite apps and everything, and window managers and that. Today I'm going to make it all in one video, so it's going to be a full installation in one video, but I'm not going to encrypt the drive. So let's get to it. I created a virtual machine with 4 CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM, and a 50 gig hard drive. Or did I do 40 gig? I don't remember now. Anyways, and I'm logged on to the January 1st, 2024 ISO. And the first thing I'm going to do is set font here -132B. And I typed it wrong. Let's try that again. Set font tier -132B. There you go. Always helps to type it right. And then I'm going to do time, date, control, set, and TP, true. And I'm going to go into Vim, Pacman, whoops, Etsy, Pacman.conf. And I'm going to change this to parallel downloads equals 5. And I'm going to uncomment the verbose package list. Now, the verbose package list may not work in this machine because I have the font really large. And this list won't stay the same. Once the install is done, I'm going to have to come back and uncomment these 2 lines in this list again. It won't stick through for the installation. And it's been written. Now I'm going to clear the screen. Now I'm going to go into the mirror list, Pacman, and you know what? I'm not going to do that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call down the mirrors from the whole world. So I'm going to do curl -O, and that's an O and not a 0. Etsy Pacman D mirror list https://archlinux.org mirror list /all/ and I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to clear the screen, and that's the line there. I don't know if you can see it. It's pretty small. But I want you to see the command all in one line. And let's vim into Etsy Pacman D mirror list. And I'm going to just pick 2 mirrors that I like. So I'm going to go to that are good mirrors. Constant. I'm going to pick the HTTPS mirror because the mirror, the S is for secure. And I'm going to go down and paste it in and uncomment it. And just I'm going to go here and leave some spaces. I'm also going to go down to pick another mirror. Let's try this one. There it is. Let's go to the top. And I'm going to pick 2 mirrors. Let's paste it in. Let's uncomment it. Let's save the file. And you can see it's been written. Let's clear the screen. Let's do Pacman SYY. I'm just going to sync my mirrors. And we're ready to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the font again to set font tier-128. And for normal, and I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to do lsblk. And, oh, I gave it a 40 gig drive. Sometimes these virtual machines, I give it 50 gig drive. You can see it's a VDA, and I gave it 40 gig drive. What I'm going to do is partition my disk, or my drive. And I'm going to do cf disk. I'm just going to do DOS. And what I'm going to do is get rid of my face for this. And you can see I have a 40 gig hard drive. So you use your arrows to go back and forth. So I'm going to click on new. And I'm going to change that 40 gig to, so for the boot partition, I normally do 200 megabytes. I'm going to do 500 megabytes so I can install more than one kernel later on down the road. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to click on primary, and I'm going to use my arrows to go to bootable, and I'm going to use my arrows to go to write. And hit write, and then I'm going to type in the word yes. Then I'm going to use my arrow to go down to the next free space. I'm going to click on new, and it's showing it's going to be 39.5 gig. I'm going to hit enter to leave it at that. Primary, yes. Use my arrow to go to bootable, yes. And I'm going to go over, use my arrows to go to right, hit enter, and then I'm going to type in the word yes. And then I'm going to quit. Now I'm going to clear the screen. And I'm going to bring my face back. And I'm going to make the font larger again. Set font tier-132B. That's better. And now I'm going to make the file systems. Let's do lsblk. So now we can see I have two partitions. I have a 500 megabyte partition, which I'm going to use for my boot partition. And I have a 39.5 gigabyte partition, which I'm going to use for my installation. And like I said before, normally I just make a 200 megabyte partition, but I'm making this one 500 so I can have more than one kernel installed at a time. So now I'm going to make a file system. So let's clear the screen. Let's leave that up there. Okay, so let's do mkfs for make file system -ext4. I always do ext4 /dev /vda2. So I'm making a file system for VDA2, which is the 39.5 gigabyte partition, which is going to hold my installation, my apps, and everything. And I'm going to hit enter. And it made a file system. Now I'm going to do the same thing for VDA1. And that's done. Now I'm going to, let's clear the screen. And I'm going to mount dev VDA2 /mnt. Now I'm going to make a directory, make dir mnt/boot. Now I'm going to mount my boot partition, mount dev VDA1 /mnt/boot. I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to do clear the screen. I'm going to do lsblk. And now we can see VDA1 is a 500 megabyte partition, and it's mounted to boot. And VDA2 is a 39.5 gigabyte partition, and it's mounted to mount. Now I'm going to clear the screen. Now I'm going to install my base system. So I'm going to do pacstrap mnt base -devel linux -firmware linux LTS. I'm only going to install one kernel, I think. Linux LTS. And I'm going to do vim get and terminus font. And you know what? I'm going to install a second kernel. I'm going to install Linux real-time LTS. And I'm going to hit enter. And it's installing the base packages, and I'm just going to pause the video for a moment. This won't take long, and I'll be back. So that download only took about a minute. Wasn't bad at all. So I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to do gen fstab -U /mnt 2 arrows mnt /etc fstab. Now I'm going to do arch. Now I'm going to do arch Chroot /mnt. And now I've logged on to my base system. I'm going to type in ln-sf /usr/share/zone info /Canada/Eastern /etc local time. And I'm going to hit enter. And what I'm going to do is set font here -128 normal. And I'm going to clear the screen. I just want to show you what that line looks like. Oh, almost fit on the line. Not exactly. Hey, the E is missing. And I could do this, but you probably won't be able to see it. That now it's really going to be small. But that's the line there, and that's what it looks like. And of course, I'm in Canada in the Eastern time zone, so you're going to have to find your own time zone. I'm going to do set font tier -132B. Vim, etc, locale, gen. And I'm going to go to English Canada. Whoops. And I'm going to uncomment that one and uncomment that one for English Canada. I'm going to save the file. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to go locale-gen. And I'm generating my locale. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to vim etc locale.conf. And I'm going to type in language equals this first word for language has to be capitalized. And en CA-UTF-8. This has to be typed right, or your location won't be proper. And this can be fixed after the fact if you do it wrong. And it's written. And I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to do vim etc host name. And I'm going to give my my computer a host name. I'm going to call it, well, let's just call it Arch. You can change this after the fact. This is easy to change after the fact. And I gave it a host name. Now I'm going to do mkini. Oh, you know what? Let's clear the screen. mkini t cpio -P. And we're going to run through this. It just takes a moment. And you know what? This part's taking a little longer because it's not going to take super long, but it's going to take a little bit longer because I installed 2 kernels. Now, I know I said I was only going to do 1, but then after the fact, when I was typing in the info in that particular line, I changed my mind and I decided to install 2 kernels. So the more kernels you have, the longer this particular download takes. It didn't take really that long, maybe a minute or 2. Let's clear the screen. Let's do password. And I'm making a password for root. Enter. I'm going to retype it. Enter. And that's done. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to do Pacman S. I'm going to install Network Manager and Grub. I'm going to hit yes. And it's just going to take a moment. It won't take too long. And I'm going to clear the screen. And I'm going to do System Control Enable Network Manager. So what I'm doing is I'm telling the system to start Network Manager every time I boot into the system. And without Network Manager, when you boot into your system, you won't have any internet access or downloading packages or for your web browser. And notice Network Manager is one word, and the N for network is capitalized, and the M for manager is capitalized. And it has to be typed that way. Why? I don't know. So I'm going to hit enter, and that's done. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to type in grub install dev VDA. And now we're installing grub. That's done. And you can see it says installation finished, no error reported. Now I'm going to clear the screen and do grub-mk config-o, and that's an O and not a 0. Boot grub.cfg. And I'm generating grub. And that's done. Let's clear the screen. I'm going to exit. And I'm going to do umount -R/MNT. And I'm going to reboot. And what I've done is I've created a base installation. Oh, and I'm going to hit my arrows. And I'm going to go into advanced options. Now you can see I have two kernels. And the kernel, when you have more than one kernel, the kernel that is at the top of the list is always the one that it automatically boots into, unless when you're booting up, you have 4 seconds to hit your arrows to stop it from booting and to get into advanced and to go into this menu. So it was automatically going to go into the real-time LTS, and I just wanted to make sure it was going to do that. Let's do that. And let's make it full screen again. And now we don't have a user yet, so I'm going to log in as root. I'm going to put my root password in. And then I'm going to set font tier -132B. And I know I did something wrong there. Yes. Let's try that again. Set font tier -132B. There you go. And now what I'm going to do is create a user. So I'm going to do user add -m Mench. I'm going to do password without the O and without the R. Mench. I'm going to put the password in for Mench. I'm going to retype it. And now I'm going to give Mench sudo privileges. So I'm going to do vim. Let's just clear the screen. etc sudo. There we are. And I'm going to just go down to root. Here it is here to root. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to delete the word root in that second line. I'm going to type in Mench. And I'm doing it this way instead of adding Mench into the wheel group. So now Mench has full privileges. And most people and most distributions will automatically add Mench to the wheel group. And most people instructing you how to do it manually would also add Mench to the wheel group. I just do it that way. I just think that's just as easy and works just as well. So now I'm going to log out. I'm going to type exit. I'm going to type in Mench. I'm going to put Mench's password in. I'm going to clear the screen. And I'm going to make mkdir.config. And I'm going to clear the screen, and now I'm going to download my GitLab repository. I'm going to do git clone https://gitlab.com/artibus1/mench.git. And I'm cloning my GitLab repository. And this command is in the show notes of every video if you need to look at it, and copy and paste it. So now I'm going to cd into Mench. I'm going to ls it, and I'm going to cd into the Arch folder on the far left. I'm going to cd into Arch. I'm going to ls it, and if you see on the left, I can't use my mouse yet because I'm still in a TTY. So if you see in the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, this auto app file, I'm going to vim into it just to show you it. Vim auto. And this app is going to install. I'm going to run this configuration file. It's going to install all my favorite apps and files that I need to have a fully functioning system. It's going to install the Cinnamon desktop, the awesome window manager, the Qtile window manager, my configs to run Qtile and awesome, and it's going to run all the apps for music and videos and everything that I use. And you can scan down there, and if you're wondering, if you've looked at the, oh yeah, it's going to install Firefox and uBlock Origin and all kinds of files. And if you're wondering why it looks different, it's because a contributor changed the file for me. It used to be in paragraph form, and now it's in column form in alphabetical order. So you can take a look at this. You can run this or not run it. It's going to install Zesh and my Zesh configuration file as well. It's going to install Rhythmbox for music, OBS Studio, and so forth. So I'm just going to get out of there without changing the file, and I'm going to run it. So I'm going to do /auto, and I'm going to hit enter. It's going to ask for my password. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to hit enter again. And now it's downloading 894 megabytes. 632 files or apps. So this is going to take about maybe 3 minutes, and I'm going to pause the video and come back. So don't go away. Okay, so that download took about 3 minutes. And I'm going to clear the screen. And now I'm going to ls it. And now I'm going to vim into my run configs file. So if you look on the far right, about halfway down, maybe a little more than halfway down. Actually, it's right under the resub. And it's run configs. I'm going to vim into it just to show you. Vim run. So this is a file that I run. It's going to copy some wallpapers into my home directory. It's going to copy my awesome configuration file and my Qtile configuration file where I need it to be. It's going to copy my light DM, my log manager, or my display manager, the configuration file where I need it to be. It's going to copy my Vim RC files where I need them to be. And it's going to enable, let's just scan down. It's going to enable Bluetooth and light DM to start when I reboot. It's going to set up my firewall to the way I like it and enable it to start on reboot. So I'm going to run this file. You don't have to do that, but that's it there. So I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to do /run configs. Oh, it's asking for my password. Okay. And that's it. It's done. Now I am going to, what do I want to do? I am going to type, I'm going to cd out of there. And I'm going to type in Zesh. I want to see if my Zesh is working. And it is. And I'm going to switch into root, put my password in. I want to see if Zesh is working in root. And it is. So now I'm going to do, let's go into vim etc password. Without the O and without the R. And I'm going to go to the end of line 1. I'm going to delete bash, and I'm going to type in bash. Then I'm going to do a search for Mench, and I'm going to go to the end of the Mench line, and I'm going to delete bash and type in zesh. Then I'm going to save the file, and the file saved. Now, when you're in that file, you have to be really careful, because if you mess something up, you won't be able to get into your system. Now, there'll be a way to rescue it with a live USB thumb drive of Arch Linux, but then you have to know how to do that, and it's a little bit of a hassle, but it's doable. So be very careful when you're in this file. And what I've done is, by default in Arch, bash is the default shell, and I just made zesh the default shell. And before I did that, I made sure my zesh configuration file was working for Mench and root. Now I'm going to reboot. And it's automatically going to reboot into the real-time long-term support kernel, because that was at the top of the list. Because I also have installed the regular long-term support kernel. And now we're at the login screen. If we go here, we can see I have Cinnamon installed, Qtile, and Awesome. Now the Awesome and the Qtile are configured with my configuration file, but Cinnamon isn't, because I don't have my own configuration file for Cinnamon. And when you install Cinnamon in Arch Linux, it's bare bones and real ugly. So you have to go into Cinnamon yourself and configure it the way you like it, with your dark themes and your different themes and wallpapers and so forth. And it's easy to do because everything in Cinnamon is GUI driven, and everything is in there you need to configure it to make it look nice and pretty. It's all user friendly. So I'm not going to go through that today, but it's installed. And I'm going to go into Awesome. Let's just make sure I clicked it on right. Yep. And let's put my password in. And now we're in the Awesome window manager with my configuration file. Let's open up Firefox. And I don't know if you can hear it, but people are doing fireworks outside. Today is January 1st. Here it is 10 to 6 in the evening. So it's kind of early for fireworks, but hey, so I don't know if you can hear that on the mic, if it's picking it up. Anyways, speaking of fireworks, Firefox is working. So let's close that. Let's go into HTOP. And I'm running at 211. So you can see I gave it 4 processors, 4 gigs of RAM. I don't use swap. And I'm running at 212 megabytes of RAM. And let's close that. And let's get out of there. And let's go into Qtile. Let's log in. And Qtile is running with my configuration file. Of course, the mouse doesn't work. It's not supposed to. So mod key F will open up Firefox. Let's close it. Let's do mod key H for HTOP. And now we're running at 215 megabytes of RAM. Or 216 now. And everything is set here that you need for music, videos. There's all kinds of apps and programs in here, and everything's ready to go. So in this video, I went through a manual install of Arch Linux using the January 1st, 2024 ISO, and I went through it a little faster than I usually do. There's a few things I didn't explain while I was doing it, and I did not encrypt a drive. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I am the Linux Mench.